Hello everyone, in this video lesson I'll show you how to make basic configurations of Cisco devices. Let's firstly take a look for Cisco routers interfaces. From the backside of Cisco router 2911 you may find the different types of interfaces, or you may see that they are physically ports. Here you may find the interfaces with the labels, with the yellow labels, so they are Ethernet interfaces. They are used for local area network connectivity, and actually in this example this is the gigabit Ethernet. Also we have two USB ports, and we have one of the interface which is called auxiliary interface, and another one, not one, actually two. One of them is USB based, another one is the UTP based. They are called console. So by using yellow labeled interfaces we can attach here some LANs. So it means that physically we can configure, we can install into this interface 3 local area networks. We can use 2 USB ports to provide to store some data on them, like an operating system or some configuration files. Auxiliary port is used to remotely access for the equipment to configure it. And one of the most important interface at the initial configuration is called the console. The console interface is used during the initial configurations of the router, or maybe when there are some accidents during the work, so you can just fix the router's configurations if you lost them. Because if you lost the configurations like an IP addresses on all of your interfaces, to restore them, to reconfigure your router, you have to use the console, because you'll just be directly connected to the router. Also we have here some slots, some flash card slots, slot 1 and slot 0 and slot 1. So in these two slots here we are storing the flash. On those flash cards the operating system is running. Also we have some interfaces, not the interface, so these are models. Here we have 4 models. These are extensions of the router, so you can just add additional models for your router, like for example ADSL modem, or you can add some wireless antennas, models. And you can add the serial models to make interconnection by the WAN and so on. How to configure Cisco devices? First way is as I mentioned before, you are able to configure your device. So initial configurations has to be done by you by using the console line. So console line, as I mentioned before, is placed here with the white blue colored. So you can be connected by the USB to your computer, or you can, if you don't have such kind of cable, USB cable, then you can use the console cable, and you can use additional application which is providing this connectivity. So they are PuTTY or a secure CRT, or it can be even the hyper terminal or any other terminal application. And how you are connecting to your device, to the laptop, from the laptop to the Cisco equipment. So we have the cable which is called rollover cable, or another name of it is just console cable. Well, from one side we have the RJ45 connector. So this RJ45 connector is like a UTP connector. It's going to be connected to the console port. And from the other side we have such kind of port which is called RS232, or it can be called a COM port. In case if you don't have COM port, but mostly nowadays there are no COM ports even on PCs and laptops, then you can use the controller, which is converting from COM to USB. And from the other side, you will be connected to the USB port of your device. And you will run the application like a PuTTY or a secure CRT, and you'll be actually connected. When console line is used, one of the reasons of using the console line is initial configurations. When there are no IP addresses on your router. Another situation where the console line can be used is like you have some accident during the work of your equipment, and another situation you just been so close to your router, so and you the cable is just plugged into your computer and to router's console port. Another way of how you can configure, interact, and manage your Cisco device, router, or it can be switch or any other device. You can use such kind of protocols which are called Telnet and SSH, like a secure shell. To have a Telnet connectivity from client to, I mean, from your device, from managing device to managed device, you have to have IP addresses. So at least one of the interface of the router has to have an IP address. For example, the interface gigabit 01. So if we'll give an IP address for it like 192.168.10.1 with prefix 24, and from the other side our computer will have an IP address 192.168.10.2 with prefix 24. And in case if you'll be connected directly or through the switch, but you are physically in the same network, so then you can open the same application like a PuTTY or a secure CRT, and you can just type an IP address from your client to the router's IP address 192.168.10.1. And afterward you can have an access, you can make configuration of your device, and this configuration will be not secureable, because all the information which will travel from you to the router and from router to your computer will be sent and delivered in just open text. Okay, and anyone who is on like if someone wants to get the passwords of the router, so he can be connected at the middle, maybe somewhere here, and he can get all the traffic. So this is not good boy. He can get all the traffic and he can filter all the information which is traveling between the computer to the router and vice versa. So to prevent such kind of situation, there can be used the protocol which is called secure shell. Whereas secure shell is making encryption of all information which is traveling between them. And if someone will try to get this information, it will not, so he will get all the information, but this information will be encrypted with the huge key so that he will not be able to unencrypt it. Another method of configuring your device, of managing your device, is to use the auxiliary port. So here we have the black port. So an auxiliary port will be connected with the modem, and modem will be connected to the internet, and you also will be connected to the internet through the modem. And imagine that this is not DSL, let's say that this is dial-up connectivity, and you are connected through the network like a PSTN, so that your modem has a telephone number like 77271112211, so that imagine that your device doesn't have an IP address, so there is no IP address on this interfaces, but you need to be connected remotely for this router to configure it. In this case, you can use such kind of modem, call from your modem to this modem by this phone number through the PSTN network, and afterward through the terminal, like through the application like a hyper terminal, you may interact with the router by not by IP address but by the phone number. And in case if this computer A is placed on from different city or from different country, then you have to pay for your connectivity for each minute. This is another way of how to configure your Cisco device. So first was the console port, like directly connectivity without any IP address. But the limits are that you have to be very close for this device. And so the second type of configuring and managing your device was the Telnet and SSH. They are remote protocols for remote connectivity and managing the Cisco devices. And the third one is auxiliary port. It is also remote type of connectivity and configuring of the device, but without IP address. What is inside the router? Inside, actually, a router by itself is the computer, but with limited functions. So in the router there is no powerful graphic card, so that you cannot play the games like on Nintendo or I don't know, like on PC. But here we have same components like CPU, this central processing unit, which calculates all the stuff which is passing through the router. We have power supply, which is connecting the router to the electricity. We have RAM, which is like an operating system. We have NVRAM memory, like non-volatile memory. It is this memory type can store the data without electricity. It's like electricity. Like in RAM, for example, when you store information in RAM, you have to have electricity on the router. But when a router is restarted, all information from the RAM is cleaned up. But NVRAM can work without electricity. If your router is reloaded, restarted, then that information which been stored in NVRAM before it was reloaded will be still stored here. We have also ROM memory, which is the abbreviation of the read-only memory. We have some interface slots, so as you see they are here. And we have just, this is fun. All right, and also we have the flash memory cards in this router to store the operating system. How router is booting up? How router is waking up when you press the button which is turning on the router? What's happening? First of all, your router gets the post. It's like a power on self test from the ROM memory, and it's checking for all the for all components of it, and it's checking are they working properly or not. Power on self test. Afterward, if router defines that everything is working properly, all the stuff, then router takes the bootstrap instruction from the ROM and looking for how the router have to be booted up. This is just a guideline, the instruction of how router have to start to work. Next, from the bootstrap instruction, router defines that it has to take information from the flash memory card. This information is operating system. The operating system taken from the flash card, and it is loaded into the RAM memory. Afterward, And also, by the way, look, here we have the variants from where the operating system can be taken. It can be taken from flash memory card, or maybe it can be taken from the TFTP server, from trivial file transport protocol server. And after locating it and after taking it and loading it to the RAM, next step, which is provided by the bootstrap for the router, is to get the configuration files from the NVRAM, from the TFTP server, or from the console. And also, router will upload them to the RAM, so that when you turn on your router takes the operating system from the flash memory card and save them to the RAM memory. Afterward, it is getting the configuration file, configs, and also placing them to the RAM. And from the RAM, router will be able to operate with them, to work with the operating system, to work with the configurations which been saved before. Next, iOS configuration files. So we have two types of iOS configuration files. We have two types of configuration files. They are running configuration file and startup configuration file. So that when you are starting your router, and as I mentioned before, so we have NV RAM memory, and we have RAM memory, we have flash memory also. So the operating system of Cisco is called the iOS. This Internet Working Operating System, and the first letter is big one, iOS. In NVRAM memory, we have a configuration file which is called a startup configuration file. And as I mentioned before, the first step what router is doing, it's getting this operating system and storing it into the RAM. And afterward, it is getting the startup configuration file and copy and place it to the RAM memory, so that when the startup configuration files will be placed into the RAM, it will be stored inside the file which is called a running configuration file. So that when you are working with the router and when you are making any changes, for example, you made up one change in the router, you renamed it. So when you rename the router, these changes are storing in the RAM memory. So that when you are not copying running configuration file to startup configuration file, if you didn't do it, and if your router is rebooted, restarted, then all of this information from RAM will be deleted. And when your router will be booted up, you will not see that your changes been happened. I mean, your change will not be happened. And to save your configurations, you have to copy running configuration file to startup configuration file. Let's take a look for Cisco operating system. Cisco operating system is the iOS, Internet Working Operating System. It has two types of interfaces. One interface is GUI, graphical user interface, but it's not so popular. And CLI, command line interface, the popular one. Whereas in GUI, you can use some buttons, some drop-down list, some menu, and some text fields, which is more suitable for the users. And in the command line interface, you can see only the command line, and you can interact with the router, and you can change everything. Absolutely everything can be changeable. I mean the configurations from the command line interface. Whereas graphical user interface is just limited. It has some limits with the functionality. Well, the Cisco CLI, the command line interface, as I mentioned, is used very often, and it has some levels of the configurations. When you turn on the router, first of all, if your router doesn't have any configurations, then router asks for the question, continue with configuration dialog, and you have to answer yes or no. If you'll answer as yes, then it will ask you too much questions. It will ask you too much questions, and in our laboratory works, it is not required to answer for all of these questions, because they are specific questions, which is not bounded with all of our laboratory works. That is why I recommend you to answer as the no for the first question if your router doesn't have an configuration file. So if the configuration file is empty. Let's take a look for the primary command modes of the router and the switch. They are user executive mode or user exec mode. This mode allows access to only a limited number of basic monitoring commands, so that you are not able to change and you are not able to impact to the router or switch process. You are able to monitor some information from router or switch, but this monitoring information will be very limited. Whereas privileged executive mode allows access to all commands and features, and starting from this mode you are able to impact for the functionality of the router. You can even reload it, you can delete some stuff, you can clear some tables, and so on. And as you see, when you are in user executive mode, you will see the hint as an arrow. So when you will see arrow in your configuration of switch or router, then you have to understand that you are in user executive mode, and you are in a very limited mode, so that you are not able to impact for the process of the router or switch. When you will see the sharp, it means that you are in privileged executive mode. You are able to impact for the work of the router or switch. Configuration command modes. If you want to configure a router with date, or if you want to change the name of the router, or if you want to configure the IP address of the interface or the console line, you have to go to the global configuration mode. So to enter to the global configuration mode, you have to write configure terminal. And actually, I will make a demonstration of how to use some commands in the CLI of Cisco router and switch in the packet tracer. We have some recommendations for giving the name of the device. It is good practice to change the device name right after you get this device, because by default each device, if it is router is called router, if it is switch is called switch. And you have to distinguish your equipment from each other. You have to make it unique inside the organization. And here are some the rules of how your router or switch have to be named. It have to be started with the letter. It has to contain no spaces, and with the letter or a digit. Use only letters, digits, and dashes. No extra symbols. Be less than 64 characters in the length. And as an example, how to give the name for your device. SDU, first of all, I defined the organization, dot engineering faculty, dot router 1. So when you will make configuration of this device, you will immediately see from which organization this device is, in which department is placed, and which router it is. But in case if you will work with the name of the router, then it will be not understandable which router you configure. from which organization, from which department, and which router it is. Securing console line. Before this, let me open the packet tracer and let me show you how to configure, how to make basic configurations on the router. So first of all, we'll take the router 2911 and place it into the work space. Next, we will select the computer, the PC, and afterward, we'll have the cable connectivity connections, and we'll select the console cable to make the management of this device. From one side, we'll be connected to RS232 port. From another side, we'll be connected to the router's interface console. Now we have to enter to the computer's desktop, and in configurations of computer, look, we don't have an IP address in computer, and we don't need it to configure our router, but we need to take a look for the terminal application inside this computer. After clicking for the terminal, you have some configurations: bits per second, which is the speed of the synchronization between the router and the computer. We have some data bits, we have parity, stop bits, and flow control. So you don't need to change anything here, but in case when you will work with real equipment which been pre-configured before, maybe you should change the bit rate for the clocking to make the synchronization of the signals between the computer and the router. But now you don't need to change anything, and you need to just press the OK button. Here you may find that this is the CLI of the router. And as I mentioned before, it's asking you continue with configuration dialog. In case if you'll answer yes, then it will ask too much questions. So my advice for you to just answer as no. Now we are in the user executive mode, and in user executive mode it is so limited mode and you are not able to impact for the functionality of the router. In case if you don't know what command you have to type, you can use the help. The help is called by using the question mark. When you will place the question mark, you have prompted all the commands which are available in this mode, including numbers from 1 to 99, which is defining the sessions, the connect, disable, disconnect, enable, exit, logout, ping, resume, and so on. As you see, there is no command which is able to be which will be able to impact for the functionality. For example, you can type show. So, and after you will type the show command, you will be able to use the question mark one more time. So if you don't know what you can type after the show, then you have to press you have to place the question mark one more time, and it is giving you additional information, hint what command you have to use with the show. And as you see, show and ARP, CDP, class map, and so on. And to take a look for more commands, available commands, press enter. If you want to see not by one more row, you can press the space button. Then it will show you left commands which are placed at the button side. So, and you can type, for example, show and clock. Sorry, I typed it twice. Show clock. And it is showing you the time. Actually, today is 26th of January 17, but it's showing me that the routers think that it is living in 1993. Now, to go to the user executive mode, to go to the privileged executive mode, you have to type command enable. Now you are in privileged executive mode. And in comparison with the previous mode, you can also place the question mark. After placing the question mark, you may see that you have much more available comments, including delete, including clear, where is this? So here it is. So these comments can impact for the functionality of the router and the switch. It means that you are in privileged executive mode. And in privileged executive mode, you can change the router's work. Now, let's take a look how we can make configuration, or let's take a look how we can go back again from the privileged executive mode to the user executive mode. To do it, you have to type command disable, enable, disable. Also, you can use the commands which are abbreviations of the commands. For example, instead of typing enable, you can type command en. It's abbreviated form, but you are not able to type command e, because if you type command e, router will not understand which command exactly did you mean, because router has two commands starting with e, enable and exit. And to distinguish them, you have to type en. So en, enable. So abbreviation can be used en, and here abbreviation can be used ex. So if you'll type en command, then it will be same as you'll write the command which is looking like enable. By the way, let me go to the configuration of the router, not from the console line, but just by clicking on top of the router. I'm doing it because here I can change the font size, and it will be better to use such kind of font size to explain it in the video lesson. But it is same, and as you see, all of my comments which I typed in the CLI before are shown here. Now let me just change the settings of the font, and let me say that in the CLI the font size will be bigger. For example, it will be 16, and so I applied it. Now let me close it, and I think that it is bigger now or not. So let's take a look. The font size. Then let me select 18. Close it. Here it is. Now, or you can also write the command this. No, it's not enough. So look, the iOS saying me that it is not understanding what is this. So that is why you'll just type this and question mark, because it has two commands with this, disable and disconnect, and to distinguish them I have to write disa, en, disa, en, disa. So these are two abbreviations of the commands. Now let me go to configure my router. At least I will make configuration of the router's name. To do it, we have to go to global configuration mode. To go to global configuration mode, you have to type command configure and terminal. By the way, if you want that your iOS CLI will complete the command instead of you will just write the beginning of the command, and if it is distinguished command from other commands, and if you will press the button tab, then it will complete the command. Or instead of it, you can write the command conf t, like configure terminal. Or you can type configure terminal. It will be same effect. And to exit from the configuration terminal mode to the privileged executive mode, you have to type exit. and again conf t. Now you are able to make configuration of router's name. For example, the router, by the way, to configure router's name you have to type command hostname, or instead of writing hostname, you can even write host, and let's try to, and you can even write ho and do, is it possible? Yeah, and you can even type h command instead of hostname. So will you type hostname, or instead of hostname if you will type h? In this case, in this situation, the same. So h, and let us say this is the router of the SDU, which is placed in engineering faculty. Let us say that this is a rack 1, or let's say that this is just the router 1. We don't have any racks. And after you gave this command, after you pressed the enter, here we have the host name, which is represented right in the command line, SDU engineering router 1. And when you will configure your router, you will always see the name before, and every time it's very important for you to distinguish which router you configure, because you may have dozens of the routers, and when you configure them you may see the names at the beginning. Alright, we've been configured the name of the router. Now let us exit from the router and let us make such kind of operation like a reload. So we'll write reload, and it is asking you, do you want to confirm, do you want to reload really? And if you will press enter, it will be same as you will type confirm. So you can write here confirm. Okay, reload, and let's press enter. Now our router is reloading. So look, our name of the router been, so it's now reloading. Our router's name been SDU ENG R1. After our router been reloaded, you see that our router lost all configurations, including the host name. And now the router asks you, do you want to continue with configuration dialog? And you'll type no again, and your router name is again just the router. Why it is happened? It is happened because you did not save configurations from RAM, from running configuration file to startup configuration file, which is placed in NVRAM memory. Let us configure the host name one more time. We will write host name, and we'll say sdu.engineering faculty and router 1. Now, to save your configurations, you have to write, so your configurations are stored in RAM, in a running configuration file, and they have to be saved to startup configuration file, which is placed in NVRAM memory. To do it, you have to go to privileged executive mode, and in privileged executive mode type command copy running configuration file space startup configuration file. And it is asking you destination file name startup config, because there was no such kind of file, and it means that when you copy from run to startup, at the same time you create the configuration file, and you answer as yes. Now if you'll reload your device, you will see after reloading the name of the router will be same as it was before the reloading process, and the router will not ask you to continue with the configuration dialog. It means that your configurations save it, and now you can reload the device. Again, we'll go to privileged executive mode, and let me show you how to save, how to secure privileged executive mode. To secure privileged executive mode, you have to go to global configuration mode, and you have to write the command enable and password, and the content of the password, for example, Cisco. Pressing enter. So look, enable, it means that when you type command enable to go to privileged executive mode, you will be prompted to enter the password which has content Cisco. Let us check is it working or not. Now we'll exit or we'll type disable. And now if we'll type command enable, it will ask from us the password. Then you have to type password Cisco. When you are typing password, you don't see how many symbols are entered. It is done because of the security. It is working. Now let me show you how your running configuration file is looking like. Running configuration file is the file which is storing the information which is currently are changed. To see this configuration file, you have to type command show running config, or you can write show run. After what you will see, so this is actually txt file which consists of so many bytes, which has the version like a 15.1 and which has the host name SDUENG router 1, and look, it has the password for the enable for the privileged executive mode, which is equal to Cisco. And it is not the best way of storing the password in this way, I mean in the open text. And in case if someone will be able to take a look for your running configuration file, that person will be able to get your password. To encrypt your password, to change the situation, to encrypt your password, you have to delete this password of the enable and you have to create new one. Let me show you how to do it. By the way, if you will press enter or if you will press the space, iOS will show you the rest part of the configuration file. But if you don't want to see all the other part of this configuration file, you have to press hotkeys Ctrl+C. Now, let me delete the password. To delete the password which have been created before, you have to type command no enable password and press enter. Now you don't have any password. To check that you don't have this password, let us go back again to the privileged executive mode and let's type the command show run. Now we have the name of our device, but we don't have password. We are going to configure the new encrypted password. So we go to global configuration mode and we type command enable. Instead of password, you type the command secret. And after what, the content. For example, Cisco. Let's exit. And let's exit one more time. We'll check is this password is working or not. Yeah, it is working. Now we have to check is this password is encrypted or not. Typing command show run and getting enable secret, and here is our encrypted password. So that now if someone will be able to take a look for your running configuration file, this person will not be able to recognize what this password is about, because this is hashed password, and as you know, hash encryption is the encryption into one side, which cannot be decrypted. Now let me show you how to secure the console line. The console line, as you remember, is used to be to configure device indirectly connection. And if you click to the router and if you click to physical view of the router, this is actual 2911 router, you may see here the console line. So now we'll provide security for a console line. How to do it? We'll go to command line interface again, we'll go to the global configuration mode, and after that we'll type the command line console. And after that we have to define which console line we want to configure. Here we have single console line. Actually, we have one console line which is USB based, another console line is the RJ45 based. So RJ45 based console line has the ID 0. So we entering into the configuration of console line. Now you may see in prompt it is changed from config to config line. Now you have to type command as a password, and let us say the password is going to be class. After creating this password, you have to define that when someone will try to log in, it will be asked the password, so that you have to type login command. When you type login command, it means that router understands when someone will try to log in through the console line 0, it will be asked, it will be prompted to enter the password. Now let us exit from this mode and let us close the window, and let us try to be connected from the computer to the router by the terminal. We've been connected before, so let us exit first of all, and let's close the terminal, and let's be connected back. Let's press enter, and now it is the simulation that we've been entered by the console line from computer to the router, and it's asking us to type the password class, enable, and Cisco. In the same way, you can check your password from the CLI of the router if you'll exit from the if you'll type command disable from privileged executive mode to user executive mode, and if you'll type command exit, then it is the simulation of that you've been disconnected from console line and you've been connected one more time, and it is asking you the password, which is equal to class, enable, and password Cisco. Now let's take a look for our running configuration file, in which we can see our encrypted password for enable mode, for the privileged executive mode, and if we'll scroll down by using the space button, we will see the password for the line console, which is looking like class. So it's not the best practice to have such kind of password. And to encrypt all the passwords in the running configuration file, you can use the command which is looking like a service password encryption. Now this command will encrypt all the passwords which been created and used in the running configuration file. Now let us check, do we have encrypted passwords or not? Show run. And now this is our class password. This is also encrypted. Even if you would have the password, enable password, not the secret, which is encrypted, but the password, which is unencrypted text, even in this situation, by using service password encryption command, your password will be encrypted. Let me show you how to configure message of the day of the router or the switch. To configure message of the day, which will be shown at the beginning before you will be prompted to enter the password, the message from the administrator, you have to go to global configuration mode and you have to write banner MOTD, message of the day. After what, in single quote, you have to type the message. For example, attention, authorized access only. And after what, when someone will try to enter to your router, first of all, the person or the switch or the router, the person who tries to enter the password will see this message. It is very important in some countries, because they are saying you, look, if you will try to break the router, you will be punished or something like this. So we are typing class, enable, and Cisco, and so on. This is how you can create the password for the line console. This is how you can secure your privileged executive mode, and this is how you can give the name for the router and create the banner like a message of the day. Now let me show you how to configure IP address of the router. But before, we have to be connected from router to computer by the crossover cable from the fast Ethernet to gigabit 00 interfaces. As you see, the port of the interface of the router is turned off. You can see the red colored link. And by default, all interfaces of routers are turned off. So you have to turn them on manually. And in switches, all interfaces, all ports of the switches are turned on. Now, let me place some notes of what will be IP addresses of our devices. Computer will have an IP address like 10.2 with prefix 24. Currently, you don't know what is the prefix is. I'll explain you about what is the prefix and how to make addressing with IP version 4 and 6 in later lessons. And in router, there will be an IP address 10.1 with prefix 24. Oh, this is just text, this is not configuration. I have to configure first of all my computer. So I'll go to IP configurations, which you'll find in desktop, and I'll type an IP address of computer 10.2. If you go to subnet mask configuration, it is placing these values like 32550. They are showing the prefix 24. And as I mentioned before, you don't know what is the subnet mask, you don't know what is the prefix is yet. So I'll explain you a little bit later. Just now skip it out. And now, how you will configure router's interface. First of all, you have to go to the global configuration mode and enter to the gigabit 00 interface. So you have to write interface gigabit 00. Or you can type such kind of command int gi00. It will be same. It will have same effect as you'll type interface gigabit 00. Now, to turn on your interface, you have to type command no shutdown. After you press enter, you can see that this link is changed the color from red to green. To turn off your interface, you have to type command shutdown. Or you can type command to turn on your interface no sh. It will have the same effect. Now we are inside the interface. You have to give IP address to the interface so that you will write IP address and 192.168.10.1, and after what you will just provide the subnet mask information as in computer and press enter. Or you can type command IP add 168.10.1 with subnet mask of prefix 24. Now we'll exit from the interface configuration and we'll exit from global configuration mode, and now we'll take a look for our interface gigabit 00. To take a look for our interface gigabit 00, we'll type command show interface gigabit 00. Well, this command will show us a lot of information about this interface, including its physical address, and here is the internet address. Our internet address, which we configured, is 192.168.10 and 1. If you want to see just only brief, very short information about your interfaces, you will type command show IP interface brief. This command will show you a table in which represented all interfaces inside this router, with its status of the ports and with its IP addresses. As you see, gigabit 00 interface has such kind of IP address. Now, we are able to check connectivity between router and computer. To check connectivity between them, you have to type command ping and define IP address of computer. Ping 192.168.10.2. Pressing enter. And we are waiting. And as you see here, we have an output. Whereas dot, it is not successfully. We don't have success in communication. And whereas this mark is showing us that we have successful communication. So it means that we've been sending 5 packages, where are 4 of them delivered successfully and 1 of them been lost. It is lost because of we have in background behind the scenes of this scenario we have other protocols which you don't know still, but we'll describe them a little bit later. Now let's ping one more time and we have successful ping. You can also check the connectivity from computer to the router. To do it, open router's desktop, computer's desktop, go to the command prompt and type the IP address of the router. And you see the report from the computer, which is showing you that you have sent 4 packages and 4 packages been received successfully and no package been lost. Let's continue with our lecture. Securing console line. Now you know how to secure the console line, securing the privileged executive mode, also known by you. Securing VTY line, we'll speak about it a little bit later in next lesson. And some packet tracer demonstration I already showed you. And this is actually the end of this short lecture, short lesson. If you have any questions, please contact me by showing email addresses. And see you next time.